Okay, we are in Senate institutions on February 14th, and we have one more item to complete, and then we can have our weekend. And that item relates to the BAA, the Budget Adjustment Act, which this year is H-141. And there was some language that the House Institutions and Corrections added that the Appropriations Committee asked this committee to review and to let them know if we had any suggestions. So this committee has looked at section 81, which is that section, and it's Department of Corrections Facility Work Program Strategic Plan. And that committee, the House Committee, is recommending that the Corrections Department create and provide a strategic plan before December 15th of 2025 with proposed benchmarks and the condition or the situation that they noted for the reason for this strategic plan is that they find a significant budget deficit has developed within previously existing programs, despite a wage structure that pays incarcerated individuals in Vermont at rates ranging from 25 cents to $1.35 per hour, significantly below the federal minimum wage. They also say that the programs need to operate in a manner that is fiscally sustainable. So they propose a strategic plan to explain what has happened financially and that the program operate without deficits. Now, I personally, if we had time, would want to comment more about the assumption that the program won't have deficits, because to me, a training program does cost money. And so you can see that as having a deficit if you expect the training program to have its own revenue source. I'm not used to training programs having revenue sources, but we don't have time to comment on that now. We can comment on that later. But there are a couple of things I'm suggesting that this committee add. So at on page 64, line 16, where the language says now it ends, vocational training programs and other paid facility duties operate without recurring deficits. I want to add, or I'm recommending we add, or clearly identified funding sources to address the deficit. So that language, or clearly identified funding sources to address the deficit, to make the point that there are other ways of addressing the deficit. And then there's one other. Yes.
I think, Madam Chair, what you might want to do, but it's up to you, is just so that anybody that's watching online, just maybe not read it word for word, but just make sure that they understand what the other body's asking. What are they asking us to do? And I can use that too, to be fair.
Okay.
I know I just read it, but just you've talked about this more than what we have. So just give us your summary as far as, because that's important to me.
Sure.
Because the chair is asking us to do something and I want to know what you want, what you're asking.
So that's fair. Thank you. And where I'm at is I don't know enough to have a full, I might have more, and I suggest we would too probably have additional comments if we had more time, but we don't have more time.
Why not?
Because the BAA is going to be voted out either, I think, essentially the next work day.
Okay.
So Tuesday. And we don't have to comment, but our Appropriations Committee asked that we comment.
And what would you like us to do?
Well, what I want us to do is add that statement that I just said to include funding sources that could address the deficit, so that we don't just assume that there will be a deficit, and also include recommendations rather than having the study only look at the past. Provide recommendations for funding in the future. Those are the two changes that I'm proposing.
And that's to, number one.
Yeah, the first part is for, to number one, yes, and that's line 16 on
Yeah.
page 64.
Yeah.
And then the other one would be at the end of the study, which is, or the end of the conversation or recommendation, which is, page 65, line 15. Where it says, department, it's at the very end of this section.
Yeah.
Shall include in these reports any financial or operational actions taken to address deficits, increase oversight, and prevent future deficits, and any recommendations for funding.
So I'm gonna say that I agree with you, Madam Chair, that we don't have enough time to do it, but that is asking, if you're asking Russ Ingles as a member, I'm gonna support the chair and support that language. I agree with you. I don't know whether I support all that or not, but if that's what the chair is asking me, I'm gonna support you.
Thank you very much. And I'm actually gonna correct myself, because when I look at this last sentence, it does say prevent future deficits, and I think that could include other recommendations for funding, so I don't want to be too picky, so I'm gonna change my recommendation and delete that one, but just keep the other one, because I just think it's really important that we do ask them for future recommendations.
I'm fine with that. You just go to the person that is.
Sure, it's on page 64. It's paragraph number 1, starts on line 13, ends on line 16. So what needs to be included, it's in the strategic plan, is a business plan to improve program efficiency and self-sustainability to ensure all facility work programs, including Vermont Correctional Industries, vocational training programs, and other paid facility duties, operate without recurring deficits. And that's where the language ends. And then I'm suggesting that we add or clearly identify funding sources to address the deficit. I just don't want I don't want the study to stop at assuming that there will be deficits or no deficits. Because I don't want, I guess, training to me is really important. And saying that we can't, to me, this might be saying, if training is going to cost and we don't have a revenue source derived from that training, then we don't do the training. It probably isn't what they mean, but that's what the words say to me. Or it may not be.
How are you gonna make those changes? Are you gonna write them in there now? And do that?
Yes,
You probably should do that, Madam Chair.
I'm doing it this afternoon.
Okay,
Yes.
and then
And I will take it myself across the hall and give it to the
okay.
appropriations committee. And then I
You should probably vote-
I need to
You should probably
explain.
vote on it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, so we need we need a form?
Is there, a straw poll?
I think that we can just probably go around the table and
Okay,
say that we
that's
would
fine.
go, because we're gonna be on record. So I'm
Okay.
gonna say that, I'm gonna make the motion. I make the motion that we support the language that the chair wishes to change on section 81, to, for the VA.
Second.
Okay, great. So motion second, all in favor?
Right.
Great, thank you for your report. And I will transmit that across the hall. Okay, so do we have any other business? We got a lot done this week, thank you.